Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to be diving deep today into something that I think is really, really interesting, the psychology of trading. We're going to go kind of beyond just, charts and indicators and really looking at how our own mindset can actually make or break our success when it comes to the markets. The source material for this deep dive is a collection of excerpts from a text that really gets into this side of trading. So think of it like a little crash course on how to kind of master your mental game for more consistent and maybe even more enjoyable results when you're trading.
It's fascinating how often traders dedicate themselves to mastering like technical analysis or obsessing over the latest, market news. But they totally neglect this mental side of trading. It's like building a race car with a super powerful engine, but then forgetting to actually train the driver.
That's a perfect analogy. And the text actually draws a similar parallel, comparing traders to athletes in high stakes competitions. Like when a tennis player who's favored to win suddenly chokes under pressure. Psychologically, what's going on there?
Yeah, well, the pressure to perform, to live up to these expectations, it can be immense. And in trading, this often shows up as like a laser focus on those potential rewards, those big wins that kind of fuel our dreams. But the text argues that this intense focus on the prize, so to speak, can actually backfire.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. I mean, we've all been there, right? Daydreaming about that incredible vacation or that dream car we're going to buy when we hit it big. But how can that actually hurt our trading?
It really comes down to fear and anxiety. When we get so fixated on those potential rewards, we also become super aware of the potential for loss. Every trade becomes like this high-stakes gamble.
Yep.
And that fear of losing can really paralyze us. It can lead to, impulsive decisions or even missed opportunities.
So it's like we're so busy looking at the finish line that we trip over our own feet right out of the gate. We're not focusing on the steps we need to take to actually get there.
Exactly. And this is where the text brings in a really insightful quote from Fritz Perls, the renowned psychotherapist. He said, "Fear and anxiety happen when we mull over the past and worry about what might happen in the future. If we can focus on the here and now, instead we'll enjoy our ongoing experience and live in the moment."
As someone who's been trading for a while, I can really relate to that. I've noticed that my best trades usually happen when I'm fully present, focused on the process, not letting my mind race ahead to what those profits might look like.
That's a great point, and it really illustrates this main argument of the text. To achieve consistent success in trading, you need to shift your focus from the prize to the process. It's about finding fulfillment in the intellectual challenge of trading itself, rather than getting swept up in this emotional roller coaster of, potential gains and losses.
That sounds almost counterintuitive, doesn't it? Shouldn't we be motivated by the potential to make money?
Motivation is important, of course, but it's about the type of motivation. When your main driver is the prize, the money, you're essentially setting yourself up for this emotional roller coaster ride. But when you're genuinely engaged in the process, the strategy, the analysis, the constant learning, that's where you find a more sustainable source of motivation and satisfaction.
Okay, I'm starting to see the distinction here. So how do we actually make this shift? How do we go from being obsessed with the prize to finding genuine fulfillment in the process of trading?
Well, the text offers some really practical techniques for making that mental shift, and that's what we'll get into next. It's about rewiring your thinking, developing new habits, and ultimately changing your relationship with the market.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. I'm all about actionable advice.
Yeah.
Let's dive into those techniques and see how we can apply them to our own trading.
Let's do it. One of the most powerful techniques the text recommends is mindfulness. It emphasizes, the importance of being fully present in the moment, noticing your thoughts and feelings without judgment, and then kind of bringing your attention back to the task at hand.
I've heard a lot about mindfulness, in general, but I'm curious how it applies specifically to trading. It seems like a field where you really need to be thinking ahead, analyzing trends, anticipating future moves.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's not about emptying your mind or, ignoring your analysis. It's more about recognizing when your thoughts start to kind of spiral out of control. Like when you get caught up in those, what if I win big fantasies, or those what if I lose everything fears. Mindfulness helps you notice those thoughts, acknowledge them, and then gently guide your focus back to the present moment, back to the charts, back to the data.
So it's like having a mental reset button. When you feel yourself getting carried away by those emotions, you can use mindfulness to bring yourself back to a more neutral, objective state.
Exactly. And the text even suggests incorporating, specific mindfulness practices into your trading routine. Like taking a few deep breaths before you enter a trade, or practicing like a brief meditation session to clear your mind and set your intentions for the day.
I can see how that could be really helpful,
Yeah,
especially in those high pressure moments when the market's moving quickly and you're feeling that urge to make like a rash decision.
absolutely. Another technique the text highlights is journaling. It encourages you to write down your thoughts and feelings before, during, and after trades. This isn't about, keeping like a detailed log of your entries and exits, but more about kind of exploring the emotional landscape of your trading.
That's interesting. I've always kept a trading journal to track my performance, but I've never really thought about using it to explore like my emotions. What kind of insights can you gain from that?
By putting your thoughts and emotions into words, you start to see patterns emerge. You might notice that you tend to make impulsive trades when you're feeling anxious, or that you hesitate to take profits when you're feeling fearful. You become more aware of how your emotions are influencing your trading decisions, often in ways you weren't even conscious of before.
That self-awareness seems crucial for making those necessary adjustments to your trading behavior. Like, if you know you tend to chase losses when you're frustrated, you can develop a plan to step away from the computer. Take a break when those feelings start to creep in.
Precisely. The text even suggests creating like a dedicated trading journal, specifically for this purpose. You can track your emotional state alongside your trades, and look for any recurring patterns or correlations. This kind of self-reflection can be incredibly valuable in helping you become a more disciplined and emotionally balanced trader.
So we've got mindfulness and journaling as two powerful techniques for shifting our focus from the prize to the process. Are there any other strategies that the text recommends?
Yeah, the text also talks about the importance of setting realistic expectations and celebrating small wins. It's easy to get caught up in those stories of traders who made millions overnight, but the reality is that trading is a journey, not a sprint. And every step forward, every lesson learned, every small win is worth celebrating.
I think that's a really important point. It's easy to get discouraged when you're constantly comparing yourself to those like highlight reels you see online. It's like comparing your behind the scenes footage to someone else's perfectly edited movie.
Exactly. And when you're solely focused on those like home run trades, you miss out on all the incremental progress you're making along the way. Maybe you consistently followed your trading plan today, even though it wasn't a big winning day. Or maybe you made a small profit on a trade where you executed your strategy perfectly. Those are wins worth celebrating too.
It's about recognizing that growth happens in stages, not overnight transformations. It's like learning a musical instrument. You wouldn't expect to play a concerto on your first day, would you? You'd celebrate each small milestone, each new chord you learn, each improvement in your technique.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And in trading, those small wins can create like a positive feedback loop. Each victory, no matter how small, reinforces those positive behaviors and builds confidence in your abilities. This helps you stay motivated and keeps you focused on the process, even when the market throws you curveballs.
Okay, this is all making a lot of sense, but there's one thing that's still kind of bugging me. The text mentions that traders who are primarily motivated by prizes often don't last very long. Why is that? What's the psychological dynamic at play there?
It's a great question. And the text offers a pretty compelling explanation. It boils down to this. When you're so fixated on the prize, you become too emotionally invested in the outcome of each trade. You ride the highs of wins and you crash hard with losses. Your emotional well-being becomes tied to the whims of the market.
And we all know how unpredictable the market can be. Even the most skilled traders experience losses. It seems like that kind of emotional roller coaster would be exhausting and eventually unsustainable.
Exactly. When your self-worth is tied to those outcomes, every loss feels like a personal failure. It can lead to a cycle of, self-doubt, frustration, and ultimately burnout.
I can definitely see how that would happen. It's like basing your happiness on whether your favorite sports team wins or loses every game. It's just too much pressure. And eventually it takes the joy out of the experience.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that's why the text emphasizes the importance of, finding fulfillment in the trading process itself. When you genuinely enjoy the intellectual challenge, the strategy, the analysis, the wins and losses become less about your ego and more about the learning experience.
So it's about detaching your sense of self from the outcome of each individual trade and finding satisfaction in the ongoing process of learning and refining your skills. Each trade becomes an opportunity to test your hypotheses, gather data, and improve your understanding of the market.
Exactly. And that's what ultimately leads to longevity and sustainable success in the market. It's not about chasing quick riches. It's about developing a deep understanding of the game, mastering your mental game, and finding joy in the process of continuous learning and improvement.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've covered a lot of ground in understanding how to shift our focus from the prize to the process of trading. But you know me, I always want to know more. The text mentions that we can actually find joy in the endeavor of trading. What are some specific examples of how we can do that? Picking up where we left off, I'm really curious about this idea of finding actual joy in the process of trading. It's easy to say, focus on the journey, not the destination. But what does that actually look like in the day-to-day reality of trading?
The text offers a few different angles on this. One approach is to view trading as a game of skill, like a complex puzzle waiting to be solved.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. Shifting the focus to the intellectual challenge. Almost like a chess match against the market itself.
Precisely. When you approach trading as a game, you can start to appreciate those nuances, the strategies of the constant learning, the need to adapt to new information and changing conditions. Each trade becomes an opportunity to test your skills, refine your approach, and just get better at the game.
It becomes less about hitting like a financial target and more about testing yourself against the complexities of the market. Almost like you're competing against your own past performance, always striving to improve.
Exactly. And that drive to improve, to kind of crack the code, so to speak, can be a powerful source of motivation and satisfaction. It taps into that innate human desire to learn, grow, and master new skills.
So one way to find joy in trading is to tap into that inner competitor, that drive to kind of, outsmart the market and achieve a sense of mastery over your own decision-making process. What are some other avenues for finding that inherent joy?
The text also highlights the importance of community, connecting with other traders, sharing ideas, learning from each other's experiences, even just commiserating over the occasional tough day. You bring a whole new dimension of enjoyment to trading.
That makes a lot of sense. Trading can often feel like a solitary pursuit, especially when you're staring at charts all day. But having a network of like-minded individuals to connect with can make the journey much more enjoyable.
Absolutely. The text specifically recommends seeking out a mentor, perhaps a more experienced trader who can offer guidance and support, or joining a trading group or online community where you can bounce ideas off each other, discuss strategies, and just share the ups and downs of the trading journey.
Having that sense of shared experience, that camaraderie, can make a huge difference. It's like joining a hiking club. Sure, you could hike alone, but it's much more rewarding to share the experience with others who understand the challenges and can celebrate the victories with you.
Exactly. And when you combine all these elements, the intellectual stimulation, the personal growth, the camaraderie, trading can become much more than just a way to make money. It can become a truly fulfilling and enriching pursuit.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening. We've learned that shifting our focus from the prize to the process of trading itself can lead to greater satisfaction, more consistent results, and ultimately a more sustainable and enjoyable trading journey.
We've explored some practical techniques for making that mental shift, incorporating mindfulness into your trading routine, keeping a trading journal to track your emotional patterns, setting realistic expectations, celebrating those small wins along the way. And we've talked about, finding joy in the intellectual challenge of trading and the power of connecting with a community of like-minded individuals.
What I'm taking away from this is that successful trading is not just about having like a winning strategy. It's about cultivating the right mindset, the right approach to the market, and the right support system to keep you engaged and motivated over the long haul.
I couldn't have said it better myself. For all of you listening, here's a final thought to consider. Challenge yourself to find the joy in the intellectual puzzle of trading. Experiment with the techniques we've discussed, explore different approaches, and see what resonates with you. You might be surprised by how this shift in perspective impacts not only your results, but your overall trading experience.
Such great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of trading psychology. Until next time, happy trading, everyone.